Well, that can't be good. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As you guys can see, the Corvette is back up on the lift. Now, this is not related to today's project, but we've got a couple projects going on which the car will need to be on the lift for. Today's project is basically, we're going to try to fit a larger idler pulley for the E4 supercharger. Now, this pulley is actually part of the pulley setup that came with the Edelbrock supercharger. And the reason we're looking into a new idler pulley is because of this. If you guys can see, the belt has an uneven wear pattern on it. It's like most of the belt's dirty, yet there's these two clean spots on it, and it goes through the entire belt. So that's on the supercharger. Here is the tensioner, and over on the driver's side on the alternator pulley, that is shown up there too. And way down here, I'm not sure if you guys can see that, but on the idler pulley itself, I can actually clearly see paint missing on the dirty part of the paint, and then the paint or whatever coating is right here. I can actually see that still on the surface of the pulley, and then on the very outside edge, it's dirty again. So it's like dirty, clean, dirty, clean, dirty, and you can actually see that same wear pattern on that pulley. What I'm worried about is this new belt going to get tore up over time because I've got a pulley that's either locking up or something screwed up with the surface of it. Alright guys, as you saw in the intro, we have a major problem. And what is that problem? Well, let's just go ahead and take a look at the car. You will notice a whole bunch of stuff is missing. What is missing? Come on over here and you guys will see the entire cooling package for the Corvette. We ran into a huge problem trying to get that bracket out as well as the pulley off of the water pump. You guys will see here that the hex-shaped fitting, actually this bolt's not too bad. I stripped 2 out of the 3 bolts that hold that bracket to the water pump. So, and unfortunately with the Corvette, to get access to the water pump and all those bolts, you have to pull the radiator. Now you guys will say, no you don't, just use a standard hex head socket. Well, the problem is guys, you actually need to use one of these. This is a extended length hex head tool, and that has to go through the bracket into that bolt and then pull it out. What I had been using was this. I had actually taken one of those longer tools, cut it in half, and cut it down. But the problem was, when I cut this, I just didn't get it to the right size shape, and it started stripping. It would not fit all the way inside the button head screw, you know, the very top of it. It got like halfway in, and I eventually just stripped it out, like I said, 2 out of the 3. Hence, we had to pull everything to get out of the way so we could reach the water pump. So this project has escalated like they always do. So the good part is, we have the bracket out. The bad part is, we just had to tear apart half the car to get to it. So, you know, it's just one of those things. What sucks is if I ever have to do service on this again in the future, you know, the water pump, whatever, I'm gonna have to pull the radiator for it. I mean, I guess in the long run, it doesn't really matter, because for you to touch anything on the radiator, you got to drain it. So that's not a big deal. But it just sucks that it physically has to be removed from the car, and that was a total pain in the rear. So going forward, what are we going to do? We're actually going to replace the pulley that I showed in the very beginning of the video. It had a bunch of damage on it, you know, with the paint not coming off, the coating being kind of worn, and it basically almost being locked up. That pulley, the bearing inside of it was shot, so you know the pulley wasn't spinning. I have a feeling when I was in high boost, high RPM, that pulley was locking up, and the belt was just spinning on it. So that's why we got those weird, you know, coloration on the belt behind us. So that's one thing. The second thing is, we are actually going to install a wider idler pulley. This is not the correct size. This is actually off of the tensioner bracket that goes up here. This is a 90mm. This is way too big to fit down between the water pump, the block, and that little bracket. But I called ATI. All their pulleys, all their idler pulleys for the LS are all 1.75 inches in width. So this will be the same width. It's just the size is too big. This is a 90mm. We'll be going with a 76mm. So the ATI pulley is on order, and when that gets in, we will continue on this project. So it's been about 10 days since the earlier part of this video. I waited on parts, and I actually decided to do another upgrade while we have the car apart, you know, the whole cooling system and all that. that upgrade we'll show you right here. So what we've done is we're actually going to upgrade from the early LS2, LS7, and early LS3 water pump to the later style LS3, so 2009 plus water pump. The reason we did this, quite simple. Right now, if I want to take the belt off the supercharger, I have to disconnect the upper radiator hose and remove it from the car. So that means I have to dump at least 6 to 8 inches of coolant just to get this hose off, you know, because the hose goes right about here. So I got to drain like the upper part of the radiator down just to change the belt. The reason you have to take that upper radiator hose off is so that you can get the belts either over or under this outlet for the upper radiator hose. I don't really remember which way it is, but basically every time I have to change a belt, which with a supercharged car you should change them more frequently than not, you have to take the radiator hose off. So that really sucks. So since the car is apart, I just decided to look up LS3 water pump on eBay, and I found this water pump for $80 shipped on eBay. This water pump came off a LS3 crate engine, supposedly. It has 0 miles on it, and there's no coolant residue in it or anything. The only thing I had to do was swap the thermostat housing from the LS2 pump to the later LS3 pump. And also, guys, another reason we're doing this whole upgrade, as you guys can see, this water pump is caked in supercharger belt dust. That's what that is. That came off the various supercharger belts that we've been running over the years. So we had that stuck bearing, and we had to drop the radiator hose, that issue. So it made sense to upgrade this water pump to the LS3 style. And for less than $100, you can't go wrong with that. Alright guys, we have the LS3 water pump installed. We did not really run into any problems with it hitting anything. Just over here, it is a little close to the power steering pump outlet hose, but I should be able to route that hose up and around that. That shouldn't be a bigger deal. So the pump is in and everything bolted right up. The passenger side, you guys will see the bolts are sticking out. Well, that's because that's the longer bolts that are necessary for the Edelbrock E4 supercharger bracket that comes off there. And this is that bracket that we were talking about. This is the Edelbrock E4 Idler bracket, as well as the ATI Idler pulley. Now this is a 1.75 inch thick Idler pulley, but the diameter is 76 millimeter or 3 inches. So this pulley is going to be the same size as the Idler pulley that we took off that had the locked up bearing in it. And one of the reasons I went with the wider Idler pulley is because the old belt actually was rubbing on the edge. Like, the pulley almost wasn't wide enough, you know, that 6 rib. It was sitting on the edge. If not, it was riding off of the pulley. So we were probably getting some of the belt dust, as you guys can see, you know, the rubber. That probably came from that a little bit. Also, it probably came from the fact that that bearing itself was locking up at probably at high RPM. So this ATI Idler pulley actually was going to replace the last Idler pulley, and only Idler pulley, that came with the Edelbrock E4 kit. We'd already done that 90 millimeter install up top a while back. That was last year's build. But, you know, and I had no issues with that pulley, so I decided to go with this one. So let's go ahead and try to get this thing installed and make sure everything's going to fit before we finish this thing up. So we got the Edelbrock E4 supercharger bracket installed. We had to use that Hex 6, that special bit we had to buy earlier. Those bolts are all installed, and if you guys can see, our pulley is going to spin without issue down here. So we're going to have one more mod before we're done with this project. We actually need to replace the upper radiator hose. The LS3 water pump uses a different radiator hose than the LS2. Obviously, as you guys can see, because the water neck inlet or outlet, the top part moved from over here to over here. So we're gonna have to run a new radiator hose. I believe it goes something like that. And this is a new upper radiator hose for an 09 to 2013, 2014 Chevy Corvette. So I think that's gonna be it for today's video. We've installed the new water pump. We installed the new idler pulley. We're gonna install the new radiator hose when we get to it. Other than that, it's just reassembling the car, putting all new fluids in it like I said. So that's gonna be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. If you want to subscribe, please do. If you want to know when I upload new content, make sure you guys hit that bell notification button. And as always, if you want to help support the channel, go to BonecrrusherSS.com. It has all our merchandise for the channel. And also, I'm going to include all the part numbers for all the parts that we use today. So the water pump, the radiator hoses, the ATI Idler pulley, and that should be about it. So thanks guys, have a great one.